Awards.
Okay, let me know when you've started the feed then.
Okay, we're recording now.
Okay, good evening and welcome to this meeting of Shard End Ward Forum. We're going to run through the agenda that has been circulated, item one of which is the notice of recording. So I'll have to advise everybody in the meeting that anyone can take photos and take recordings of this meeting, and the council itself will take a recording of the meeting that will be available on the council's website in due course. Item two is the COVID-19 update. So we have with us Elizabeth Griffiths, who is the Deputy, oh God, I forgot what the title is, Deputy Public...
Assistant Director of Public Health.
Deputy Director of Public Health, thank you, Elizabeth, is going to give us an update on the current situation around the COVID pandemic. Elizabeth.
Thank you, Councillor Ward. So I'll give you a little bit of context here. I'm pleased to say that nationally the rates are continuing to decline, although we are seeing small increases in some particular areas. As you know, the government has set out a roadmap out of lockdown now. So this is a series of landmarks that are staged at 5-week intervals at least to ease the restrictions that we're currently facing. And whether we take each of these steps is dependent on a number of things like vaccination update, like pressures on the NHS services, the case rates, and also any new variant challenges that might be. The Prime Minister announced yesterday that they've confirmed that step 2 will occur on the 2nd of April. So from Monday, we will, with regards to social contact, there will be the rule of 6 outdoors. So that means that 6 people from a number of different households can meet up, or 2 full households or 2 households can meet up, and this is outside. So it's still only your own household that is allowed inside. In terms of businesses and activities, non-essential retail will be opening on Monday, as will personal care, things like libraries, community centres, and most outdoor attractions. People are allowed to stay in self-contained accommodation with their household, and a number of children's activities and indoor parent and child groups, up to 15 parents, can go ahead. In terms of hospitality, the good news is that people are able to have hospitality outside, so pubs and restaurants will be able to serve outside. And gyms is the other thing that's coming on there. In terms of travel, we're still not having international holidays, but as I mentioned, domestic overnight stays, if you're just with your own household, is now allowed, and a number of life events such as funerals, weddings and wakes and receptions can now go ahead under restricted numbers. So funerals will be 30 from Monday, weddings, wakes and receptions will allow 15 people from Monday. And the other thing that is starting to occur from Monday will be a number of different event pilots to see whether we can roll out opening of events as they come through. In terms of what we're seeing in Birmingham, the rates are absolutely coming down. We're now at 42.5 per 100,000 as of the last week. That compares to us being at 72.3 in the previous week. That puts us the 54th highest in the country. And in terms of giving you a number of that, so that rate of 42.5 equates to 485 cases over a week period that we saw, and that's about a 40% reduction than we've seen in the previous week. If you compare us to other areas in the region, I mean, in the West Midlands region, everyone's seeing a reduction, but some areas such as, I think Wolverhampton's seen a slight slower version of that than we have. I think it was just a 2% drop that they saw in Wolverhampton. If you compare us to other cities, pretty much all of the other cities, bar Newcastle upon Tyne, have seen a reduction in their case numbers. There's still a jump in Newcastle in the last week. as before, spread is very much through household and social contact and through workplace interactions, but we have started to now see some evidence come through in spread within the schools. If I look at Shard End in particular, Shard End has been the highest area in the city for a while, but it's just moved into second highest in the city, so Ward End just took over, although we are seeing a dramatic drop in the cases in the Shard End area. I think what is driving this is two large school clusters. Although there's no clear evidence of the link to the school, it's most likely to be about increased testing that is rolling out for both pupils and for their parents, because we're seeing a slight increase in the cases within that 0 to 19-year-old age group and also 20 to 39-year-old age group. So Shard End's rate is currently sitting at 89.35 per 100,000, and that's approximately double what we're seeing in the rate of Birmingham as a whole. But that equates to 11 cases in the last week. Comms and engagement wise, I come to you every time, don't I, and say that there's 3 Shard End COVID champions, and there are still 3 Shard End COVID champions. We're really aiming for 11, and I know that Councillor Ward would really welcome some company, as I believe he's already one of the champions in your area. As a city, we're almost at 800 COVID champions, and each of these champions get a weekly briefing with questions and answers and regular information to share out. And I will put a link in the chat when I finish so people can sign up should they be interested. In terms of vaccine coverage, that the rollout is going okay in the city, going well, and Shard End has a really good uptake compared to the Birmingham average. So over what we're seeing in Birmingham as a whole in each of the areas, each of the age groups. Vaccines now being rolled out to priority group 9. So that's our 50 to 54-year-olds are now being offered that. And if you're invited for vaccination, you can either book that through the NHS website, which again, I can give you a link. And there's more information and questions on vaccines on our colleagues, the CCG's website. And again, I will add that to the link too. Really, the focus now is on making sure that 100% of those who are eligible for the vaccine are offered that dose. So they are being rung around and make sure that they're offered the vaccine so we can boost uptake as best we can. And then finally, just to touch on testing, not much new from last time I came. We're still encouraging anyone who's leaving home for work or is part of a care bubble or has children going to school regularly to access regular testing, and you can do that through our community test centres. The closest for you, of course, is the Shard End Wellbeing Centre, also a wide range of pharmacies or our mobile site offering, and again, we have an interactive map so you can put your address in and find the closest test centre options for you there. I think that is everything that I wanted to tell you about, so I will stop talking and answer questions and add all those links that I promised you.
Thanks very much, Elizabeth. Yes, I am one of the 3 COVID champions for Shard End. It would be nice to have some company. I did post a video actually a week or so ago on some Shard End Facebook pages, giving out a message about the fact that Shard End are then the highest rate in the city. But as you say, Elizabeth, it has now come down and we're in second place. And overall, I think it is good news both for Birmingham and nationally that case rates continue to decline. You may have omitted to mention that barbers were also opening on Monday of next week. I can't wait.
Yes,
I can't wait for that to happen. Given that I've now taken on the appearance of Benjamin Franklin, I definitely need to get my hair cut. Okay, I'll take any comments or questions that Donald or Roger you might want to raise. If you could raise your electronic hand if you want to speak, and I'll bring you in. Yeah, Roger, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, have we, has the council given many, what's the proper phrase? The track and trace COVID grants. two people in Chardin, the £500.
I don't know that we're going to know that, actually, unless you do know the answer to that.
I
Elizabeth.
don't have that information to hand, I'm afraid. We can absolutely have a look at
But it was just that, obviously, looking at the time when we were the highest, and we've only just dropped a little bit below Garrett's Green and one or two others. I just did wonder if it was the people not taking the tests, not isolating, because of the costs that it would be to them not to work. Obviously reflecting how easy it was to get the grant from the council.
The grant comes with a lot of strings. Actually, it's a government grant administered by the council. It does come with a lot of strings, and I think to qualify, you had to be in receipt of a qualifying benefit. Is that right, Elizabeth?
I believe so. I don't have the detail to hand, unfortunately, but we can absolutely find that out for you.
Well, I do know.
Just that obviously, as one of the most deprived areas, not just in the city but in the country, that obviously I would imagine there'd be a fair number of constituents that would have qualified for, unemployment benefit and pension credit and all the rest of it. Although we're sort of a fairly young demographic. Mm-hmm. I just wondered, if the council could have done anything to help that and help us bring the numbers down.
I think we've certainly done analysis to try and understand why Chardin has had higher rates over a couple of weeks, and what we are seeing come through in the data is really around increased testing around schools. And so because people are taking more of those lateral flow tests, either as pupils or as parents or support bubbles, that we are seeing that a higher rate come through in those. Obviously, we're monitoring any outbreak situation as well, so that doesn't explain all of it, but I think some of that is explained by people taking more tests in that age group.
Okay, thank you, Elizabeth. Anything from you, Don? Anything you want to ask? No. Okay, well, I think we can note your report, Elizabeth. Thank you very much for that, and let's hope that the rates continue to fall, and we'll see the government's timetable for release from the lockdown stuck to, and come mid-June, I think that's the point where the restrictions will all come off, and apart from the remaining hands, face, space regulations, we'll be able to go about our business in as near to normal a way as we could just over 12 months ago.
Thank you, Councillor Ward. I will drop off now. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Okay, let's move on to item 3 then, which is the All Saints Square information update. And we were going to have Timothy Pennifold at this meeting, who's going to give us an update on where we are with All Saints Square. Unfortunately, he is ill, but he has sent me a note on where we're at with this. Which is essentially that he's continuing to work with Alan Porter to seek a resolution to the matter of the car park. He then goes on to say, as the works were initially completed in line with the submitted plans, then it may be very difficult to use any enforcement powers to resolve this matter, using the arguments that the methods used were not successful. However, an important role of enforcement is to help in mediating a solution and to assist in a resolution via a negotiated settlement, even if formal action is not a realistic option. Therefore, I will of course be happy to assist in going forward with this matter. So I think the upshot of that is that Alan and Tim are going to continue to speak to the current managing agent to try to effect a repair that will solve the drainage issue, which is causing the problem on that car park. Roger, you've taken an interest in this in the past. Anything from you?
Yeah, that's disappointing actually, because obviously LCP haven't really been that cooperative to date, and there's no reason to assume that they're going to be any more cooperative in the future. I suppose you can't comment on that.
Well, I'd like to think that we can persuade them to take some steps here to sort this out, because the truth is that unless they come up with a viable permanent solution, they're continually going to be spending money on temporary solutions on that car park. And in the long term, that's going to be more expensive.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
So we'll continue to talk to them and continue to push them to come up with a solution as best we can. Sorry, it's not any more or more than that at the moment, Roger, but you know, we will continue to push. So, right, let's move on then to some hopefully better news, and this is in connection with the Commonwealth Games that are taking place here in Birmingham next year, so less than 18 months away now. July of 2022, we will see the opening ceremony for the Commonwealth Games and 11 days of world-class sport here in the city. To try and ensure that all communities right across Birmingham are engaged and feel ownership of the Games, the City Council has launched a Celebrating Communities Fund. It's an opportunity for communities to bid into this fund and ensure that the community here in Shard End is engaged in the Games. And we have John Mole, who's going to talk to us about how we might go about tapping into this funding. John.
Thank you, Councillor. As you've said, and hopefully everybody is aware of it across Birmingham, but we have the great news that the Commonwealth Games is coming to our amazing city. In order to celebrate the Games, each ward will be receiving a localised pot of funding to promote both the Games and our rich and diverse local neighbourhoods. Obviously for tonight, what the key question is, how much is the ward of Shard End going to get? And I can confirm that we have 17,500. To the nitty gritty, who can apply, what for and how? Now, what we're trying to do with this Games is to encourage as much as we can local participation. So because of that, you can apply if you're a constituted group, if you're an unconstituted group, and if you're a grassroots community group. Anybody can apply to the pot now. And the whole idea is to carry out localised activities such as cultural events, sports and recreational activities, street parties, picnics, community celebrations, etc, etc, etc. The world is literally your crustacean. There are three key elements, however, that we do need to show when we're actually looking at the applications. The first part is the getting active, encouraging communities to get out and get active by participating in sports and recreational activities. The second element is ready, steady, fun. I love that title. Delivering community projects to ensure your local area is Games ready and hosting community celebrations to develop active citizenship and reduce loneliness and social isolation. And the final element is celebrating culture. This is about developing community-led cultural events and initiatives that encourage intergenerational activities. Proposed schemes must harness the power of culture to bring people together, celebrate their identities, their culture, their heritage, and stories of their communities. To the super nitty-gritty, because everybody always wants to know exactly how much you can apply for, when and why. So the financial criteria. Bids will be accepted between £100 and up to a pot of £10,000. Now, as I speak, all funding must be committed by August 2022. However, we are very much aware that we're in the middle of a pandemic. And if the COVID-19 restrictions adversely impact the delivery of projects, then provided the groups have come back to Birmingham City Council and informed us, due consideration will be given to how the projects and its funding can be given an extension. We're trying to be as effective and as assistable, there's no such word, and as helpful as we possibly can. Small and new groups which are not constituted, and there are plenty out there, may apply under the umbrella of a constituted group, which will act as a fund holder for the grant. All applications need a statement from a sponsor. Now, a sponsor could be just about anybody. It could be one of the neighbourhood network schemes that we've now got across the city, early help, voluntary sector leads, or a locally formulated constituted community organisation. So again, we're trying to be as lateral as possible. The constituted organisation will then be able to purchase items or services on the group's behalf. This means that groups do not need a bank account in order to apply to the fund. Again, we're trying to make certain we're as accommodating as possible to our small community groups where we'd love to see some applications. Funding can be used to cover most types of community activity. This can include core costs, essential running costs, revenue costs, new and existing projects, and one-off initiatives. There are, as always, though, some areas that we cannot support. So we can't help if you're a profit business, if it's a national programme without a specific benefit to Birmingham, projects that are outside of Birmingham, projects within a ward that doesn't have a ward plan or have at least identified the ward's key priorities, projects which have already taken place or items purchased prior to or during a grant application, unspecified expenditure for general appeals, requests to build reserves, funding for statutory obligations, and no political activities. To make this process as successful as possible, we are actually out in tender at the moment for two elements to actually help with our local groups. One is the Commonwealth Community Support Officers, who will be able to go out to groups, discuss with them, talk about their ideas, and assist them with actually putting in an application. And there's a tender out as well for anchor agencies, very much like a mini version of the neighbourhood network schemes, where they will be able to give a second layer of support and assistance. Now, the applications for round one will be accepted up until the 1st of June. Excuse me. I've got to stress, however, that that's not the end of the programme. So that's just the first round, which is the 1st of June. Applications will be subject to initial due diligence review. That will come out we are hoping in July. All projects that then pass this stage will be asked to submit a written or video summary. This will be reviewed at your local ward forum, where a recommendation will be made about which projects receive funding. This recommendation will then undergo a final stage review by Birmingham City Council, and successful projects will be notified in October 2021. Now, the key elements for the rounds, as I said, do not panic if we can't get anything through to the 1st of June, because that's only the first round. Round two then starts in October, and we're expecting a closing date for submission in January. So we've got plenty of time, so there is no panic. I have to stress that. What we want to see is local groups and larger groups that have actually had a long think about what they want to do and how they can actually complement the games. Now, what I will do on the team chat is I will put the contact number and the address so that anybody that's interested can get in touch, but I'm open for questions, Councillor.
Thanks very much, John. Any questions, Roger or Donald? It just does strike me, Roger, as being the kind of thing that Charlene Communities could take forward.
Well, yes. For John's benefit, I'm Roger Lee, chair for Shard Neighbourhood Forum. We tend to work as an umbrella group, so obviously, if other people would like some help with a bid, we would help them as far as we can. But with the particular ideas that I've got in mind, which Ian is aware of, we are going to need some help. Essentially, John, what I was interested in is doing an outdoor movie on the library to actually show the Commonwealth Games, and obviously develop a sort of community community-wide event. Now, there are obviously a couple of problems here straight away. If we want to do this as a drive-in, which was the original concept, to actually have a drive-in cinema in Shard End, we are going to need the cooperation of LCP. And given the long-standing sort of argy-bargy there's been over the car park, I'm not sure that we're actually going to get the cooperation of LCP. And I would obviously be looking at Birmingham City Council, so how good are you at arm twisting and all the rest of it. If that proves to be a no-go, then the plan B could be the church side of the square, where we could go out, instead of allowing cars to come in, we could go out and buy a few hundred deck chairs. And then people could sort of, you know, rent them off us for, I don't know, £5 a night or something like that. I'd have to talk very kindly to the church, see if we can find a storage area for them. But that's basically, that's the basic idea.
I think, Roger, the bigger problem might be the cost of the equipment. You'd need a screen and some form of projection equipment.
Well, yes, I'll be looking at that, and I'll come up with a number of things here. First of all, I don't think it's going to be terribly useful, but the council does have a facility called Film Birmingham.
Yeah, but they don't do things like that, Rog.
No, they're not, but they may have contacts because a lot of this equipment is available for hire.
Right.
And we're probably talking a 10-day period. So, and as I think the upper limit on any one grant is 10 grand, so that would probably be well within that. But obviously, one of the things I would like to look at is, while we can sort of learn from hiring the equipment, I would also like to look at some point is whether before the end of the hire, with whoever we hire from, looking at perhaps acquiring the equipment as a legacy for other future events.
Yeah, cheers, Rog. And we'll. I think John has posted in the chat a link to the paperwork for how you put a bid together. Donald, let me bring you in. And first of all, congratulations on getting your second vaccine jab this coming Saturday. That is very, very good news. I've had my first jab. The second one.
Yeah, Ian.
Yep.
On the subject of exercise, if you remember, before the virus started coming around, I used to go for a walk from the community centre on the Monday and the Wednesday morning. We go down the Packington Avenue to by the river, and then along by the river and back again. And of course, that's not been able to take place during the COVID. Have you any idea as to when that could restart, please?
Don, you can go out for a walk. That's permitted under the current restrictions.
Oh yeah, I do know that. In fact, I have been about 4 times every week. I walk around the lake, and then once a week I go down and walk by the river. But I'm wondering when the organised walks can start again from the community centre. There used to be someone called Trevor who used to lead us along that way. Have you any idea as to when they could start, please?
I don't actually, Don, but the rule of 6 comes back into force on Monday of next week. So I would have thought that 6 socially distanced people could be organised into a walk. I'm not sure when the community centre will reopen though, because currently it's a testing centre, isn't it? That it's being used for.
We see, Ian, if it could be started again, instead of waiting inside, providing it's not pouring rain, which if it's pouring rain, we wouldn't meet in it. We don't the walk anyway. But we could easily all wait outside until we're all together, and then of course, when we do the walk along down the pavement, we could walk behind each other, and then when we get to the river, the path is about 4 or 5 feet wide, and we could walk either side of the path. That situation.
There's no doubt, Don, that this could be done in a socially distanced way. It's just the person who is organising it coming back to work, I guess. Bev, do you know? Can you shed any light on this?
I'll try and find out from Trevor. I think it's Trevor Ems. So I'll try and find out from Trevor Cancer as to what's happening and when that can start again. And I'll let you know, Donald.
All right, thank you, Beverly.
I'll contact Trevor to find out more, and I'll let you know.
What I could also do, I do walk by the community centre frequently. If I see his car parked at the front, which is a white car, then maybe I could go to the entrance and ask for Trevor to come to the entrance, and I could maybe talk to him about it.
Well, what I'll do, send him an email, Donald, but also other people might want to know as well. So I'll find out and I can get the information out.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bill. And then Roger, you'll look to do something through Shard Communities about a bid from Shard End into this Commonwealth Games funding then.
Yes, because I see that the 3 groups, the 3 funding, three potential amounts that are available. And I imagine this is going to fit in the 5,000 to 10,000 bracket. So that's going to be quite a substantial bid. So obviously we're going to need some help with that. Now, you have mentioned there is some help available, but the other thing I noted here in the blurb that I downloaded off the website is celebrating local communities linkage to the Commonwealth is a key aim of the fund. Ward councillors must work with residents, but given who our local councillor is and his responsibilities with Birmingham City Council and his links with the games, this is going to be exceedingly difficult for you to be in 2 or 3 places all at the same time. And perhaps we could have a deputy.
Well, no, I don't think that's within the rules. But what I can do is I'll give up whatever time I can, Roger, to support a bid going in. But I'll obviously endorse the bid. I won't be, I think that's what's required, that I'm in support of the bid, and the bid needs to come through the ward forum. See, Johnny's nodding. Let me bring him back in.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct, Councillor. Roger, I can guarantee we will get you the support you need. You sound like just the sort of group that this whole programme's about. So once we've got the bodies in place, we'll be sending them directly to you. But you're quite right, Councillor. We're not expecting you to be at the front of everything, focusing it. That's why we've got officers at the background to actually help. All we'll do is we'll have perhaps a one-off ward forum event where we've got the bids ready and they're solid, just to go through, just to have an open discussion about them.
There's a lot of work just to get the ducks in line.
It sounds it.
Can you take it then, Roger, into the next meeting of Chardane Communities, and maybe we can have a discussion there about how we'll move this forward?
Yes, obviously, it's how long things are going to be virtual, because obviously I think the people that are more used to these sort of virtual meetings are probably people that use this for business or whatever. It doesn't seem to have much success at a grassroots level.
No, I agree. And
it's
I think
a foreign concept to a lot of people.
As long as we do it in a socially distanced way, I think after May the 17th,
yeah,
I think that's the date, we can actually have a physical meeting.
Where we're likely to do that would give us sufficient floor space to get the spacing right. I'm thinking upstairs in the library.
Yeah, the library would be the place to go, and libraries will open from next week.
Right.
So why don't we aim to try and get a Chardane Communities meeting after May the 17th, and then we can discuss how we might put a bid in to this funding.
So that sounds like I need to go and talk to somebody like Liz Parks.
Yeah. If you would, that'd be great.
Okay, we'll do. But if John, if there's any information that you can sort of be posting off to me or sending to me electronically, I'd appreciate it. I've got quite a long list of hire companies, but obviously I need to know where I'm going to be standing as far as All Saints Square at the church side. And I think that is substantially, I'm trying to remember the map. Is that mostly the church, or is it?
No, the church side, the square on the church side is public realm. The car park is obviously the car park, so we'd have to, as you've already said, get the agreement of LCP, is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Who can have a conversation with them? They're not. They seem to almost refuse to engage with the community, and I know they've not covered themselves in glory as far as the business community is concerned.
I think either myself or Alan Porter would be able to do that. And I think what we need to think about, Roger, is under this proposal, how long the car park would be out of action, because it'd be given over to your screen and the viewing of the game. So why don't we take it away to Chardane Communities, and we can have that discussion there.
Okay, yes, the games are a 10-day period. I don't know what the schedule is, whether most of them are in the afternoon or most of them are going to be in the evening, but yes, it's a 10-day period.
Yeah, okay. Let's pick it up then, if we can get between you and Mo a meeting of Chardane Communities organised.
Okay.
Okay, if not anything else on this fund. Thanks very much, John. Appreciate your time. And we will move on to the local updates. I won't start with myself. I will kick off with the police, and we've got again PC Boriston with us to give us an update on policing in Shard End.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Brilliant. So firstly, just to send the apologies of Sergeant Goldsmith and Sergeant Jenkins. Both of them are off today, so they have sent me in their stead just to give everyone a brief update on what we've been up to as your local neighbourhood policing team in the last month around Shard End. I'll try and be slower than last time. I think I said everything a little bit quick, so I will try and go through at a swift but hopefully legible pace this time. So firstly, crimes. So don't know if everybody is aware, but there is a big push at the moment to basically make sure we're criming everything correctly. So that is when we get a call from a member of the public, make sure that we're accurately recording what it is that's happened in that incident. As a result of that, we have seen a corresponding increase in the crime figures this month, which kind of brings us in line with the rest of the West Midlands. So it's not too worrying, but it is something to bear in mind. Overall, this is basically represented by around a 7% increase in year-to-date crime if we compare to last year at a similar time of the year. Much of this falls into the category of domestic-related incidents, which again is pretty indicative of the situation we're in at the moment with COVID, with everyone staying in their homes. Again, it's correlated to a dramatic fall in robbery, burglary, and vehicle crime, and that is again. It's mirrored across the whole of the West Midlands, that fall in those areas and an increase in domestic related incidents as a counter to that. Basically, people being inside is making it very difficult for our offenders to kind of use those normal, if you like, areas of crime. So, your robberies and your burglaries and your vehicle crimes. And we've also had quite a targeted intervention in those areas as well, which is paying dividends in relation to a fall in crime. So that's crime figures. The second area that the Sergeant have asked me to update everyone on is Street Watch, which I believe that there was some questions about last time in the meeting. So at the moment, we're still unsure of when this is going to be allowed in the form that we all want. We're obviously very keen to start as soon as possible. For now, there's been a decision made that it can restart, but only in pairs. Obviously, due to the risk potentially involved in Shard End, we're not anticipating utilising Street Watch in this form, particularly because we can't support our communities basically as long as there's that rule with pairs. But we are going to keep everybody updated on what the force's decision is around it. And as soon as the changing rules allow it and it's sensible to do so, we will be starting up Street Watch again. So we will continue just to update people on when that decision is made. The third area is demand. So basically in the police, demand is the number of calls we get to the police from our community. This is being driven up to basically pre-COVID levels at the moment, and we're anticipating that continuing now into the summer and beyond. So this is obviously not great news for us as a local policing team. Our staffing at the moment is 6 PCs, 3 of whom are students and 3 of whom are kind of, substantive experienced officers and 2 PCSOs. We have students come and go, which supplement those numbers. So sometimes we might have slightly more, sometimes slightly less. But that is kind of the staffing we're running on at the moment. And due to that demand, that uptick in the number of people who are calling the police, around 2 of those every shift are basically just responding to those calls to service, because obviously, that's the most important thing as the police, that we can still get to those people that need us as quickly as possible. But as a result, obviously that impacts on our staffing and what resources we have to do neighbourhood policing. So obviously bear with us, we're doing the best we can, and there's a lot of work going on in the background to make sure that we can still provide that level of service to the public. Good news, so this month we've been doing lots of foot patrol, mainly around Hull Cross and Shard End, so around Cllr Road and the Matchbox estate opposite, mainly in response to what you guys are telling us around antisocial behaviour reports, drug dealing, anything like that. We're making sure we're being a lot more visible and out on foot a lot more, so If you've seen us, then great. If not, then I'm sure you will, because we are out on foot this evening, and we will continue to be for the foreseeable future, basically. We are awaiting the return of Speedwatch. So we've recently conducted speeding operations on Tarlcross Road, Hurst Lane and Brownfield Road. We're aware that speeding is a community concern, so please let me know in the chat if there's any specific roads, and I can feed those back to the sergeants so that we can make sure we move there next time. They have been quite successful. It's not, like I said, it's not about catching people speeding. It's more about, you know, making sure that people are aware we have been there, so that the next time they go down that road, they lower their speed, so that, you know, everyone is basically kept safe. With the return of the schools, we're also doing a lot of work, certainly in the mornings and at school, leaving times to make sure we've got our PCSOs visible at the school gates, which the community seems to really like. We really like doing, and it basically lets us engage with a lot of young people. So it's really good and very valuable. And finally, the last point that the sergeants wished for me to raise was around community intelligence. So we've been quite proactive in the last few weeks around warrants, and we've got a few more planned for the upcoming weeks. Most recently was a cannabis setup that was located just off Timberley Lane, and that was following reports from members of the public that the occupants of a particular address didn't live there, but just visited it relatively regularly. There was also a very strong smell of cannabis, etc. And the electricity, so the wiring at the property, was very, very, very dangerous, and actually caused a small fire, hence why we were called, and we were able to locate the cannabis setup there. So we found around 40 to 50 plants, and from the outside it did just look like a normal residential property, and we had no reports other than those local concerns. So if something doesn't look right, or someone says something to you and you don't think that it is right, please let us know. It might be nothing, but it might be something, and we can investigate it and stop a tragedy happening before it happens, basically. We've also recently seized a stolen vehicle from the driveway of an address, and that was following reports from again the local community that something wasn't quite right. There were vehicles coming and going to the address at all times of the day and night. The residents appeared to be kind of dragging wheelie bins in front of the registration of the vehicle, so it couldn't be seen from the road at times, and it was just very odd to them. They reported that to us. We went and we drove past the address several times, and we located this vehicle and were able to return it to its owners. So although to you it might seem a little bit off, it's something we can definitely look into, and we really, really need those reports to keep coming in. So thank you, and continue to let us know your concerns.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments?
One, really. I'm pleased to hear, I'm reflecting really what we're hearing on social media, the Chardenne communities and various other groups. I'm pleased to hear about the foot patrols, and I hope those continue as we come out of lockdown, because obviously that can affect social gatherings to help COVID control, but also obviously, hopefully, as the weather improves and lockdown continues, we are likely to see an increase in future car crime, burglaries and antisocial behaviour, and obviously foot patrols are very reassuring to the community.
Thanks, Roger.
Yeah, absolutely, Roger. Completely understand what you're saying, and I think the sergeants are very keen for us to be out on foot. So tonight we've got 4 officers out on foot around Chardenne. So the 2 PCSOs should be around the Lee Village area, and then we've got a couple of officers who are around more Chardenne, so the Heathway shops around there at the moment. So yeah, expect more of it throughout the summer, including in the parks and open spaces where we're aware there may be those larger gatherings, particularly as the nights get lighter.
The misuse of quad bikes and scramblers is always an issue in the public open space as well.
Yeah, we were fortunate. There was a police action against that recently on the boundary.
Yes, so our neighbours, so the Chelmsley Wood and the Solihull policing teams were very lucky and were able to get some assistance from Warwickshire Police because they border which means that essentially if we wanted to get the Warwickshire off-road bike team to come in and assist us, because they've got a dedicated off-road bike team, if we as Shard End, which counts as Birmingham, wanted to get that team, we'd have to pay a lot of money in mutual aid to request them to come. But because they border Solihull, they were able to go and assist them at no extra cost. And obviously because a lot of the parkland is joined, we were very lucky and we received the benefits of that. But please be assured, we'll do all we can against the off-road bikes. I believe I said in the previous meeting, we were doing a lot of plain clothes work when the weather was nicer than it has been today. And that proved very effective. Most of the people we stopped and we spoke to were actually local people who lived either next to the park or very near the park, which surprised me because, you know, anyone who lives near the parks or spends any time near them knows that the noise nuisance and the danger that they cause is you know, it is really bad. So the fact that it was local people who were causing the problems was just shocking to me. But yeah, we'll definitely be looking at doing more of those in the summer, as I know the problem is likely to get worse, unfortunately.
Thank you. Anything from you, Dom? No. In which case, thank you very much for that update, PC Boriston, and hopefully see you at the next meeting in May. Okay, let's move on then, because I know that Natalie Swain, you wanted to give an update, didn't you?
Yes, please, if possible. It was just I just wanted to give a quick update in regards to the Neighbourhood Network Scheme in Hodge Hill. I know I haven't attended your ward forum meeting for a while, so I thought I'd give a little bit of an update on where we're at the moment.
Yeah. Okay.
So thank you. So it's been just over a year, I think, since phase 2 for the Neighbourhood Network Scheme. We've funded, I think it's around 20 grant applications across the constituency. For Shard End, we've actually only received 2 applications in the last 12 months. And one was for Welcome Change, a food bank at the start of the pandemic, and the other one was Age Concern. And that was for hot meals and wellbeing packs, again, throughout the pandemic. And Age Concern are actually continuing for another couple of months because the demand is still there. But we've put on a few training workshops as well. So we did a few mental health awareness training sessions, safeguarding through Birmingham City Council. We have also done a few groups on structures for community groups, so registered charity, CIC, that type of stuff. So we've been really busy. We've now been granted another 12 months extension, which is great. So we've got a new grant fund, and the criteria is still the same. It's up to £250 for unconstituted groups, and then up to 10,000 for registered charity or constituted group, which is great. The one thing that I did want to mention is that it's not been finalised just yet, but many of you know that the Neighbourhood Network Scheme is for people over 50, whereas Hodge Hill and Sutton Coldfield NNS teams have been approached to do a pilot to basically expand that to 18 plus with additional needs. So those additional needs are autism, physical disability, sensory impairment, mental health, I believe. So there's a few, I guess, groups that it will be expanding on. So the plan was to potentially get that up and running in April, but it looks like it's going to be more May time, maybe mid-May. So yeah, it was just to give you a bit of an update on that. Not quite sure why Hodge Hill and Sutton were chosen. I think it was mainly around the capacity of the Neighbourhood Network Scheme leads, but then also the social work team as well. So yeah, very exciting times ahead, and it will obviously mean that after we've done, I guess, the mapping side of it, the first 6 months, that grant fund will also be available to those community groups that are supporting those adults that have additional needs. So yeah, that's pretty much it from me. But if anyone's got any questions.
Thanks very much, Natalie. Anyone, Roger, Don, any questions on this?
I looked at I've actually done 2 or 3 applications in the past. I've not done it to Birmingham City Council because the funding applications are absolutely mind-bogglingly complicated. I did a 2 or 3 unsuccessful appeals to the police and 1 or 2 other people. What I was looking at was actually providing people who were not necessarily computer literate with information technology to combat loneliness, or with younger people to help them, interact on social media. And obviously that would have perhaps required a certain amount of cooperation and collaboration with the schools to make sure that we got the right governance, etc., on internet access and supervision and that sort of thing. But sadly, it didn't go anywhere. But it is something that's wanted. I mean, the government have been trying to plug up. I mean, schools are desperately looking for laptops and things like that and can't get enough. Yet I couldn't get the money and I couldn't get the support to do something about it locally. So after it, I've given up.
Yeah, I think as well. There's so many different, I guess, funding opportunities. It's trying to pin down which one you'll have more of a success with. I know it sounds terrible, but there's so many criterias, and I do understand that it can be very, very overwhelming. But with that being said, I do know that there are a few workshops that have happened over the last couple of months that are specifically for community groups that need that. I guess they need to develop their skills on grant writing or bid writing, and those online sessions are free of charge as far as I'm aware. So they're normally hosted by Birmingham Community Matters. So I think I've still got your email address, Roger. So if you want me to, I can send you over the details.
Yes,
we do.
If you would, please. I mean, the last time we were face to face, I did sort of send out an appeal on this very topic. I was promised stuff. Not a lot happens, but obviously COVID is an important part of that. I did have offer of cooperation and collaboration from Age Concern, but the young lady that was doing that then is now doing something different, I believe, within Age Concern. So it all fell apart. Yet all of the things that I was trying to propose, i.e. the mental health benefits of using new technology with people that are isolated, but also the young people. Sorry?
I'm not sure who that was, Roger.
Oh, right, sorry. Yeah, so all of these things are sort of actually turned out to be rather important, which is particularly frustrating as I came up with this, 12 months ago and couldn't get any help.
Yeah, and I do understand your struggles, because I think what part of the NNS is, so we often get contacts from professionals that are like social workers and NHS workers that want to, I guess, signpost a citizen to a service. And whilst we've funded a few projects in the other side of the constituency, so Ward End and Allen Rock, around like a digital lending library. So that's lending out a tablet or a laptop that also has like a dongle connected to it, so they can use the internet. For Shard End and I want to say Glebe Farm and Tile Cross Ward, we're yet to see, I guess, any groups that have put in applications or that have already got that project up and running, and we have loads of requests from social workers for that service. So I do understand your concern.
Yes, one of the obvious things is people aren't computer literate, they're unlikely to have an internet connection. So therefore you therefore need IT that has perhaps a dongle built in or a SIM card. But at the time I was looking at this, people like Amazon were actually offloading old models of iPads fairly cheaply, 40, 50 pounds a unit. So, you know, that was an ideal opportunity missed, unfortunately. And yes, you're right. Not only am I involved with Sharding Communities, I also happen to be the elected public governor for Birmingham East and North with Birmingham Community Healthcare Trust. And the Healthcare Trust, because of the collaborations and cooperations, are anxious to reach out to communities to try and help with mental health issues. So all the right background noises there. I just need some money.
No, I understand. What I'll do, Roger, is I'll drop you an email and maybe we can have a conversation. See how we can help.
Okay, Rog.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for that, Natalie. If we press on then with the agenda, I'll take my update next. Two things from me, really. I think I said this last time that we met. The two big issues across Shardend are one, fly tipping, and I've had an enormous amount of fly tip waste removed from the ward over recent weeks and months. Quite substantial level of fly tipping that's been going on. Some of it commercial stuff that's come quite a long way in order to be tipped in Shardend ward, bizarrely. And the second issue is, I think, the state of the roads across the ward. Shardend Crescent, in particular, is in a hell of a mess. Part of that now has been resurfaced and patched, but I'm hoping that Cllr will return to do some more work on Shardend Crescent, because the section by the zebra crossing just in front of the library and the shops is also in a pretty remarkable state of disrepair, and that needs to be done as well. There may be more that can be said on that shortly in this meeting, but that particular location does need some attention. I'm happy to take any questions, but those are the two things I've been mostly preoccupied with over the last weeks and months. Roger?
Well, the only thing that I can say here is obviously concerning the very tiny green spaces that surround All Saints Square car park. Sadly, we haven't got Astrid on this meeting, because I know she was taking a particular interest in that. One of the things that was being proposed is that a community group, whether it's Shardend Communities or another one, whether it's Blueprint or whatever, may the possibility of acquiring those assets. Now, when I say acquiring those assets, each one is only about the size of a settee. But where it should have been garden and planting and that sort of thing, it's just become hard trodden earth, and there's been no landscaping at all. In fact, 2 Christmases ago, I asked LCP to get onto their gardening contractor to cut down the hedge that was obstructing the Christmas tree, and nothing's happened, because clearly they haven't got it. They're charging for gardening services, but they're just not happening. And we thought, well, instead of complaining all the time, I think Astrid's idea was, would they like to give those assets to us as a community group, and we'll maintain them and look after them and plant them and that sort of thing. So that takes away a problem. And who knows, it may actually sort of grow a better relationship with LCP and the community, and LCP and the business community, who are also unhappy because they're paying a maintenance charge.
Yep. So who was looking at that for you, Roger?
Well, I was talking about it with Astrid.
Oh, yeah.
Because She's very interested in, again, fits in very nicely with the Commonwealth Games. She's very interested in public health and outdoor activities, and she was looking at, she's got a certain amount of cooperation with the church where she's looking at putting in raised beds, and apparently there is also a conversation going on about a piece of the lawn being turned into a sensory garden.
Right.
So it all hang together rather nicely.
Yeah.
There's one piece of land where we've actually got the community notice board. I think there's a little bit of land there that might belong to the council. I don't know. Put a bench on it. If we can't grow plants, let's have a bench.
Yeah, there's no reason why if we can find a way of purchasing a bench, we couldn't have a bench.
Well, this is what I'm suggesting. If the land belonged to the community could probably afford to buy a bench to put on there.
I don't see why the council couldn't give permission for a bench to go on the bit of land that's owned by the council. You're muted, Rog.
I think she was looking at trying to. There was the 4 or 5 strips that are under the control of LCP. There's a couple of pieces, one with the notice board that the Birmingham City Council, and then there was 2 or 3 things with the church. And I thought, and I think her thinking was, if there could have been a transfer of assets, I believe there is some scheme where this can be done. Certainly with the city, I don't know about the church and I don't know about LCP, but it would be sensible if you've got one group that was looking after the whole thing. They could then sort of like offer a partnership service with the local businesses.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
they have to pay LCP. They don't have to pay the local community, but they could certainly support us. And if that particular group was a charitable or a community interest group, then any contribution to that from business would be offsettable against corporation tax.
Yeah, this is again a conversation with LCP, isn't it? Because we're not going anywhere unless we can get their agreement. Okay.
LCP are actually central to so many things. It's a shame they don't want to engage.
Yeah, I agree. Let me speak to Alan Porter. I'll get the contact person he speaks to and try and have a conversation with them myself. See if I can't persuade them to engage in a more positive way. Just on the other issue that I raised, which is the state of the highways across Chardin. Let me see if I can just bring in Kevin Gibbon, who can tell us what, if anything, is planned in terms of highway maintenance in Chardin in the coming municipal year. Kevin?
Evening, Councillor. Evening, everybody. Right, let's go back to LCP and All Saints Square first of all. I'm currently looking at the legality of me actually physically closing that car park under safety because it's atrocious. So if we can perhaps possibly, depending on the legality of it, close the car park and force the hand, then that might be an element or a direction to go down. So I'm currently looking into that, and I'll feed back in due course.
Kevin, are you thinking public health and safety?
Yes, I am.
There have been a couple of incidents of falls over last winter. People were injured and their insurance Zurich paid out. So that's an admission of liability as far as I'm concerned.
It is, yeah. But as the council's contractor, I am obliged to look after the safety of the public. So therefore, within my remit, I can close that under safety, but I need to, because it's private, I need to be very careful of how we go about it. So it's a conversation to be had with various different teams within Cllr and then LCP as well. So I'm still working on that. It's just a thought I've got at the moment with regards to that car park.
If you keep in contact with us, because I know Astrid actually lives in one of the flats over the shops. Yeah. And the residents are actually, I think, are in litigation with LCP because they're being charged for environmental services in which they are not receipts. The same argument as the things. As I've said, we're interested in the piece of garden that surrounds the Christmas tree that we paid for. So obviously, we can give you some, at least moral support and bullets.
Yeah.
Well, let's give it a go, Kevin.
Let's see where we go with that in that direction first and foremost. So with regards to highway updates, Chardin Crescent was mentioned. The zebra crossing outside the Harlequin surgery at All Saints Square, I am attending tomorrow myself to take stock of the situation, get that raised, get that sorted. I know it's in a bit of a state. Chardin Crescent is in an atrocious state, absolutely horrific. There are, looking at the programme, there are further works planned for the carriageway on Chardin Crescent, but I've got no dates for that at the moment. So I'll keep you updated, Councillor, with regards to dates on that one.
Thanks.
Further updates, Brook Meadow Road, currently well underway with the footway scheme on there. We have got a footway scheme on Chardin Crescent, apparently starting later on in this half of the year. And Walsham Croft as well, that's also got a footway scheme planned for it as well. So that's that.
Kevin, can I actually live on Brook Meadow Road?
Okay.
And I think there are two comments really that I've got. I'm rather surprised to see the flagstones disappear to be replaced by asphalt. As a pensioner myself, I know when it's frosty, which gives the best grip, and it's not the asphalt. The water sticks in it and it becomes really dangerous. So I think this is actually, I know it's cheaper, but it actually looks like a retrograde step.
Right. So in the first instance, I'll keep this nice and short and sweet where possible. We, Cllr, don't have massive control over the programme. That is decided by officers within Birmingham Council. The materials that go down, we don't really get to decide. We are just overseeing the work, so to speak. But I can certainly ask the question as to why the flags have been removed and replaced with tar and feedback. That's no issue at all.
Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, and actually the road is going to be closed for quite a prolonged period of time, well into May. When I look, I mean, they're supposed to be at 8 o'clock until whatever, and they're not. There are days when the road is closed. They have got people manning the frontier post, letting cars in and out, yet there is no work taking place.
Right, I can feed that back to the supervisors that are overseeing the job.
Thank you, Don.
I've noticed lots of the blocks on that car park are loose. It is a real hazard.
Yeah.
A few times I almost tripped over some of them. Also, another road that needs to be seen to is the Heathway, all the way from the Crescent up to Score Lane and maybe a bit further, especially in the middle. All that needs to be resurfaced, but the problem is there is you've got cars parked all the way along there, and the trouble is to get those cars up out of the way so they could resurface it properly.
So there is a small, well, no, it's not a small task. It's a really large task, really, of planning the next set of significant works that they're doing. And every area within Birmingham has been, or the stewards within Birmingham look after the city have been asked for a list of local roads that we believe need attention for the council's consideration. And the Heathway is one of the roads I've put forward for consideration. So it's definitely on the radar, and we'll keep monitoring it until and repairing as we can until we can get a full resurfacing scheme done on the road.
And there is still that proposal at the junction with Brownfield Road, isn't there, to build the junction out?
Yeah, I believe so. That's with Alan at the moment.
Carry on, Kevin.
That sits with Alan Porter at the moment. Yeah.
Okay. I was speaking to Alan just last week, so I know that's scheduled for this financial year. So we should see that work happen this financial year.
I believe there was quite another significant crash over the weekend at the junction.
Yeah, that wasn't the Brownfield Road junction, though. That was the junction with Welldrake Avenue.
Oh, okay. My apologies.
Okay. Anything else on highways? Okay. Well, thanks for that, Kevin. And yeah, if you could keep me
chat to the website if anybody needs to report anything.
Yeah, if you could keep me just updated on progress on Chardin Crescent, that'd be appreciated.
Will do. No problem.
Thank you. Right, that takes us then through to the last item, which is any residents want to raise anything. So I guess we've got 3 residents now, having almost come to the end of the meeting. That's Roger, Don, and Diane. So is there anything the 3 of you wish to raise that we haven't spoken about?
I was just going to say, I think I've had my say.
Thanks, Roger. Thanks, Diane. Don, anything from
No,
you?
nothing to raise. I just couldn't get into the meeting earlier. I was trying. I don't know.
I sent you the link. Did you get it?
Yeah, I got it, but I got in through another way. Yeah, I just wanted to know about what the Commonwealth Games.
Yeah, we had the update on that, Diane. And some of the there's a link actually in the chat that you can get access to the paperwork through. And Roger and I agreed that through Cllr Communities, we'd look to see if we could get a bid worked up. And so
Okay.
Roger's going to arrange for a meeting of Cllr Communities in the near future.
Okay, cool. All right, thanks.
Donald?
There's another issue I'd like to raise about the lake at Pittall Road.
Yeah.
The path, the tarmac path by the Pittall Road bit, heading towards where you got the houses on the corner there. There's been some markings put across the path to raise the issue of tree roots pushing the tarmac on. And those markings have been there a few months now. Now, I'm only assuming that maybe someone's going to dig out the tarmac and maybe remove the roots, and then put some new tarmac there flat, because there is a possibility that some people might be tripping over those raised roots.
That sounds very logical to me, Don. Should we see if Kevin can shed any light on that? Are you there, Kevin? He may have left the meeting. You carry on, Don, because I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So there is that issue about getting that sorted out, because obviously there's going to be some people might trip over them.
Yeah.
They're only raised up about maybe 2 inches, maybe at the most. But for some people, lots of people that don't lift their feet very well easily, and also they might trip over them. Of course, if some people go around when it gets dark, they won't see those raised bits of the path anyway.
Yeah, and 2 inches is definitely a trip hazard. So if it's been marked up, then that suggests to me that Cllr are looking at doing something on it. Kevin, do you know?
Sorry, Don. Yeah. Sorry, Councillor. Sorry, Don. Where was that?
It's you got Pittall Road, and you got the path that goes around the lake. Yeah. And as the path, you go through, there's an entrance which lines up with Priestley Road, and you go through the entrance to the path, and you walk to the right to go around the path that way, and there's some raised roots, tree roots, at certain intervals along there, with I think it's green sprayed on paint to signify that those
actually, Don,
bits of roots to be sorted out.
I thought you were talking about the footpath on Pittall Road, but you're talking about the footpath in the park, aren't you?
Yeah,
in the park. That's right, the park. Yeah. Yes.
So it sounds like the Parks Department have marked that up.
Yeah, it does.
And if they've marked it up, Don, the intention will be to do the kind of repair work that you've described.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know where that is here, and I think it is. It's been marked up by Parks. They're going to, looks like they'll cut up the roots.
Yeah.
Another thing in the park that has been mentioned by residents is the water levels are really high, and
In the lake?
yeah, the inlet is blocked up.
Yeah, I've noticed that as well. Yeah, I can notice it more so up towards the sea cadets,
Yeah,
because there's a pathway that like through a gate down the bottom of the slope where the sea cadets
that's
is,
right. Yeah.
and there's a path like a
Where they launch the boats.
like a thing where the sea cadets get into their boats, and the
That's
water
right.
level I notice is covering a bit of that path.
Yeah.
And then at the far other end, where you've got those houses up above, I noticed that the mud, the soil between the lake and the tarmac path is wet. So it'd only take about 3 more inches rise of that lake to maybe cover that bit of path.
Yeah, it's really high there. I think it did cover it, but it's gone down a bit now. But you know, I think it's blocked.
I'm just.
I can have a chat with drainage on that, with BCC's drainage on that one, Councillor. That's
Yeah, that
I don't know
would
whether
help.
there's anything I'll be able to do on that, but it might be something they will look into.
Okay, I'm also emailing Mike Hinton as well for him to have a look at it. The Parks
Right.
Manager. So
Could I ask one thing?
Yeah.
Where is the outlet for that lake? Is it actually by the sea cadets where there's some rushes?
I think it is done, yeah.
Because there's a brick
Yeah,
field
it's
sort
by
of
the sea cadets
bit
where the
there.
boats launch.
Yeah.
Okay, let me also just. Oops, spelled that wrong. So I'm now sending this off to Mike Hinton. And we'll see if he can unblock the situation and resolve it. Anything else, Don or Diane?
I'm still noticing occasionally those safety life belts in the water. Over the past all these weeks, I've almost every time I go around the lake, there's one safety belt in the water somewhere.
They've been in the water. It's every day. It's been for years and years and years. Every day they've been in the water.
Yeah.
And they fish them out every day.
Yeah, the somebody obviously, well, more than one person, they obviously think it's very amusing to go around and throw the rings into the lake. Annoying.
Very.
Okay. If there's nothing else, I think we've come to the end of the agenda for this evening's meeting. The next meeting will also be a virtual meeting, and it will take place on Tuesday, the 11th of May, again at 6 p.m. So there'll be a link which Bev will sort out to allow people to join the meeting. And actually, just before we go, one last item. Does anybody, any of the three of you, is there any agenda item you'd like to see on that on the agenda for that May meeting?
I don't think so, because obviously the Chardin Communities meeting is likely to happen after the next board meeting. So.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, well, I'll come up with a suitable agenda for that meeting. And if I don't see any of you before, then I shall look forward to seeing you on the 11th of May at 6 p.m. Do everybody please take care and continue following all of the guidance in dealing with the pandemic, because we do need to see the case rates continue to fall. And can I wish you all the best in getting your vaccinations? I'm certainly looking forward to getting my second jab in due course. Thanks, everyone.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Everyone keep safe. Look look forward to next Monday when we get more freedom. Yeah.
Yeah, barber's opening. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to going to my barber's.
I'll
My
second
barber's is Tony Chipperfield Road. And I'll be looking forward to going to him and make an appointment next week.
Yes.
I'm one of the lucky ones. I haven't got that problem.